Uh, Shikoba, for those of you who haven't heard this story a million times, I realize not everyone here is a huge fan of mine. They came here, and whatever reason why they're here and how they got here, I'm grateful for all those reasons. But today I want to talk about missed opportunities, missing out, FOMO, sliding doors, the whole thing. So if you guys haven't heard my crazytown story, you can listen now. I'll keep it short, or my version of short. 1990s, early to mid 90s. There's no, I had nothing. It was LA during that time was very racially charged. The LA riots in 92. I didn't have much. I wasn't dirt poor, but I didn't have that much going for me. And all I wanted to do was do art and music. But the way I do art and music then is the same way I do it now. It was like very raw and unfiltered. It didn't really match. I wanted to do graffiti, but, if you've ever wanted to escape rules and regiment, and it's not graffiti. Graffiti is not about breaking laws. Like if you're in the graffiti world, it's like being in the military. There's a way you're supposed to paint, and there's crews, and there's orders and rules. And so even in that world, I didn't fit. I was an outcast in the outcast world. And with music, there was just a way that you were supposed to play music and play drums, and it just didn't fit in. And so, now it's normal to have face tattoos and colored hair and piercings all over your body. But back in the early 90s, that was wild. Like you were like a weirdo outcast if you had that stuff. And so these kids at school that I joined a band with, we were called Fate. We were called, I don't know, we changed our band name so many times. Anyways, so here I was, this lost kid, getting into credit card fraud, breaking and entering, shoplifting, hitchhiking, vandalism, just, a juvenile delinquent. That's what I was. Not a good person, not thinking of others, thinking about myself. And the miscreants I was in a band with stole my brother's amp. They stole my brother's shitty PV, like $90 amp that he had, that it was his birthday present or some Christmas present, something like that. And they sold it for drugs. And so I quit the band. I was like, and they pretended like they didn't do it, they're like, oh yeah, even though we knew they had the key to my back house. And anyways, cut to 2 or 3 years later. This is such an embarrassing story. I can go in depth with it, but basically half the guys in my band ended up being in the band Crazytown. And so, high school was over. I graduated in 94 and I moved, and these guys didn't know my new house. And one day I was taking out the trash, and they drove past my parents' house, and they saw me. They're like, there's Choe. And they got out, and I was like, oh man, these effing junkies. And they ran up to my house, and they said, dude, they were like all like young tattooed white guys, and their drummer was like a 60-year-old jazz musician, and they pulled like a beanie over his head to make him look like a kid. And they were like, look, we just got signed to a record label. We got a music video. We got the blessing of the Chili Peppers. We're gonna, we're about to blow up. And, our drummer doesn't like really, I forgot. They're like, everyone in the band was like in and out of rehab. They're like, Dave, you got to join our band. Come on, And I said, get the F off my property, get out of my house, get out, And my mom came downstairs. Oh, your friends are here. I was like, Mom, you see these guys ever? Like, just lock the door. Don't let them in. And no less than a week later, like some Tom Hanks's kids, not the Jamaican one. Some movie comes out, this song Butterfly by the band Crazytown. You couldn't escape this song. It was the song of the summer or of that year. I mean, multi-platinum. And I'm like, I could have been in that band. I've never felt FOMO like that in my life. I could have, in my mind, I'm like, I could have been rich. I could have been famous. I could have been getting laid. But more than that, I was like, I could have been in a band playing music. Yeah, sure, we would have got booed at Ozfest and every other place, and no one knows any of our songs, and we were one hit wonder and all that. But I had never felt that sense of missing a boat, and here we are, over, almost 3 decades later, and I'm looking back, going, not being in Crazytown is the greatest thing that ever happened in my life. But at the time, and when I say time, I mean it lasted for a while. I mean for quite a while. I had a very hard time accepting the fact that I was not the drummer for Butterfly, Sugar, Lady. I don't even know the song, but I would have killed it in that. Who knows what my life would have been like if I had joined Crazytown when the opportunity was presented. But I said no. I went with my gut. I regretted it greatly. And to say I regretted it for like a year it was longer than that. I regretted it for years. Every time that song came on, or they were famous for a few years. They rode that song out until the wheels fell off. I would love to hear from more of you. Missed opportunity. Some great opportunity was presented and you missed out on it, whether it was your fault or someone else's fault, and how that missed opportunity became a blessing. Dosu, man.